Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. Thank you everyone for coming. And we're going to wait a couple minutes because I'm sure we're going to have a lot more people attending. We're at 69 right now. We did upgrade our attendees, so we can host enough for the whole school. And I don't know if Mr. G's here yet, but
yeah, I think he is.
Okay, perfect. So hello. Hold on, let me kick my kids out of the living room. Guys, can you beat it? They can hear you talking.
Oh, okay.
And like I usually say, we like to start on time. It is 6 o'clock now, and we usually like to keep the meeting to an hour. I know that there's a lot going on today, and there's a lot to discuss, but so let's just keep it in mind that we want to keep it to an hour. Unless everyone wants to stay on longer, then we can always do that. So I'll just start. Welcome, I'm Pamela. Crudy is also on here. We're the co-presidents. Today's our last meeting as co-president, so we're anxious to welcome the new presidents, and we'll get to that a little bit later. We are recording, as I said. If your children are in the room and you don't want them recorded, please turn off your camera. Please also mute yourself. And actually, we're going to turn off the chat only for a little while during the officer elections. If you have a question, please raise your hand, but so that we can all focus on what the nominees have to say when they introduce themselves, and then we'll open it back up a little later. Hope that isn't upsetting to anyone, but we just want everyone to focus on the nominees. So with that being said, Mr. G, are you ready to go with your principal report?
Yes, so just a couple quick updates on things at Richland. Last Friday was norm day, which means that's the day that the teacher captures all the data for the district. So because our numbers were low on the English side, we had to close down Mr. Langlois' 2-3 combo. Those kids were placed at different schools, and we had to close it down. So now there's only 2 classes on the English track, which is Mr. Olive's K1 and Ms. Danieri's 4-5. Fortunately, however, Mr. Olive was reassigned to our school as a full teacher with position, so we'll be helping out with the upper grade classrooms. Testing, the district has launched a very ambitious testing program where they can eventually test all LAU state employees and students in hopes of getting ready to reopen schools. And one of the point outs, the sibling form was sent out to you guys a couple weeks ago. If you have a sibling enrolling into Richland next year, then please make sure you let Katie and I know so that we can ensure that they have a spot. The window for the online applications opens October 1st. Very important that you do the application whether you have a sibling or not. I mean, that's first priority, but you still have to do an online application. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Crudy, you want to go ahead and talk about the election?
Yes, so we are going to be electing this year's new booster officers tonight, and what we thought we might do is ask each of the nominees to very briefly introduce themselves so that everybody can put a face to the name. There is only one office or officer position this year that is being contested, and that is a vice president. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to check out our community page on Facebook, because we asked each vice president candidate to post a little bit about themselves on there. So, you know, hopefully you've all seen that. Nonetheless, we will go through and we will ask each of the officer nominees to introduce themselves, and then following all the introductions, we will open the poll. The poll will remain active for a limited amount of time during this meeting, and then we will be able to announce the winners of the officer positions during this meeting. So for co-president, we have 2 nominees. and we have 2 available positions. The first nominee is Kate Lehman. Kate, are you here?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Kate. Do you want to introduce yourself and say a couple words about yourself and what you hope to achieve as president?
Absolutely, and apologies to those folks who were here last week and already heard my little spiel. So my name is Kate Lehman, and I have a kindergartner this year with Madam Elodie and Miss Rojas, and we were really fortunate that we were able to have Sophie in TK last year with Elodie, and we also have a 3-year-old who will be, I guess, a future tiger. In my day job, I'm an education researcher at UCLA, and all of my scholarship is about access and equity, mostly with college kids, but just in general, that's really important to me. Education is sort of in my blood. My mom is a special education teacher in an elementary school outside of Dallas, and they're open face-to-face, and it's been really interesting to watch how that's played out for her. It's been a little scary too. She's been exposed to COVID twice already now in her school. But one of the things that's been interesting about it is to see how the needs that their school has had this year are different, and how their boosters has been able to step in and offer support in new ways. So I'm here to support the school and our fabulous administrators and teachers and staff through this really challenging year. And I look forward to working with Soha to support them.
Perfect. Thanks, Kate. Next up is Soha. Soha, are you around?
Yes. Hi,
Okay,
everyone.
perfect.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Soha Saleh, and this is our family's 2nd year at Richland. I also have a kindergartner, Zoe. She's also with Miss Elodie and Miss Rojas, and last year we were in TK. And we also have a 1-year-old at home, Julian. Last year, we had a really amazing year in TK. You know, we as parents, we were supporting Madame Elodie and Madame Fatia in the curriculum and in things outside the curriculum. And it just was such a wonderful introduction to Richland. And even from before we joined the school, you know, we toured the school when Zoe was 3, then when Zoe was 4, and every time we saw an amazing, you know, administration with a vision for the school, and every year the school was improving. And you could see, you know, the parents around campus, whether it was in the classroom or whether there was some meeting going on, just, you know, supporting that and everybody together in the growth, you know, of the school. So, you know, I really want to continue in that and supporting the administration and listening to the families and how we can all help the school and help all of the students, especially in this very challenging year, as hopefully we're approaching reopening. What realities we're going to face in terms of what will be the needs, whether it's in terms of, you know, guidelines that are mandated or actual realities on the floor that maybe we won't know until, you know, we get that green light. So I know it's a challenging year, but I think we're very lucky to have a wonderful administration and an amazing community, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure, we'll be fine. Can't wait to get back to school. So for vice president, thank you, Soha, by the way. For vice president, we have 2 nominees. The first nominee is Jim Felton. Jim, are you here? Not sure. Okay, we can come back to Jim. The next nominee for vice president is Danielle Mclaughlin. Danielle, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi there. So for anyone I don't know, I'm Danielle Mclaughlin. I have 2 sons, so Mason, who is in 3rd grade, and Corbin, who's in 1st grade. We live down the street from Richland and have been part of the neighborhood for the past 10 years. I've been dedicated to boosters ever since my oldest son, Mason, started at Richland 3 years ago. I've volunteered thousands of hours of time. I've been to almost every booster meeting. I just missed one. And even before I was an officer, I would leave the meetings with a list of things to do, something I signed up for. 2 years ago, I was secretary, then I was VP, and I'm running for VP again. I've always been inspired to get involved at Richland. For me, it's not just a place where my kids go to school, it's part of our life. I've convinced many people to come to the school, and as a non-French speaking family, it's really been fun embracing so many of the wonderful elements of French culture. I feel strongly about supporting our teachers, so I created a Getting to Know You form that's used across the school to find out all of our teachers' favorite things. Each year I've led Teacher Appreciation Week in both my boys' classrooms. And during the strike, I was one of just a handful of families that was out every day in the pouring rain marching with the teachers. I also feel strongly about making boosters as inclusive as it possibly can be. So, we implemented the alternating morning and evening meetings, which really opened the door for working families and those with busy morning schedules to play a more active role in boosters. We started live streaming meetings, and that was way before Zoom was a popular thing. And, initiated a budget take-home ballot and did all the legwork behind that, which allowed double the number of people to participate in that vote. So I've worked closely with the administration over the past several years to ensure that boosters align with the overall mission of the school. I believe it's important to listen to everyone's ideas. Booster is a fantastic place, a welcoming place, to talk about all those ideas. And then I feel like the contributions to giving campaign, everyone works so hard for all of their dollars. And, those contributions should really be valued. So I take a really prudent outlook on the booster budget. And then I love the idea of my boys being at Richland, especially because we're just down the street, till 8th grade. So, really excited about that middle school planning. I do a ton of work behind the scenes. So I write all our boosters emails, was really involved with our monthly newsletter. I design all of our boosters graphics and flyers. And if you're a new family and received the booster welcome letter this year, I wrote that. I've always felt it's important to build our community. And even more so now that we're all remote. So over the past several years, I've created social events and fundraisers that have generated thousands of dollars for our school. This summer, I've been doing a little bit of brainstorming, some ideas that I have, not yet approved, but some initial ideas, virtual cheese tasting, drive-in movie night for the whole family, and an online cooking class. So just some fun ways to keep people together and engaged even while we're remote and raise some dollars for our school. Due to coronavirus, we know that there are so many unknowns this year. As Soha just mentioned, we don't know if we'll go back, when we'll go back, what that reopening will look like. So I think especially with 2 new co-presidents and a new secretary, my experience can provide some stability. I have a wealth of experience in marketing. So that's particularly relevant, especially given the VP responsibilities of communications, events, creations of graphics and flyers. And, overall, I just truly love the Richland community. I love the fact that my boys are at this school. I've loved being a part of the booster board. I've been an active and engaged member of boosters during my entire time at Richland, and I hope to be able to continue to serve on the board.
Thanks, Danielle. I'm gonna ask for Jim one more time. Jim, are you here?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, sorry, technical difficulties.
You have the floor.
So I'm Jim Felton. I have 2 current Richland Tigers. I have Olivia in 5th grade. She was part of the inaugural French immersion program. And Penny, who's in 2nd grade. And I have 2 future Richland Tigers, Henry and Jack, who can't wait to run around and wreak havoc on the school. Hopefully by the time they start up again, we'll all be back in person. And I just look forward to being on the board to help the school, make sure that everything is going for everybody, that we're doing well. So that's it.
Great, thanks, Jim. Okay, so those are the 2 vice president nominees. Next up is secretary. So for secretary, we have 1 position open and we have 1 nominee, and that is Frank. Frank, are you here?
Yeah, hi.
Perfect.
I'm Frank Sanfilippo. I've got 1 daughter in the 5th grade. She's been at Richland since the kindergarten, so we're the first cohort. We're not a native French-speaking family. I won't go on at great length since I'm running unopposed, although hopefully that means that it would be very embarrassing to lose at this point if I'm running unopposed. So yeah, there was no one applying for the secretary position, and the community has just been so supportive of our family, and the administration has done such a great job that I just wanted to give back to the community, and I hope I can contribute.
Great, thanks, Frank. And next up is for treasurer. Treasurer, we have one nominee. It's Pamela. A lot of you know Pamela as well already from being president, co-president of Booster for the last several years. Pamela, you want to say something?
Yes, so thank you. I want to say thank you to Frank for stepping up and taking the secretary nomination. We really appreciate that. And I've been at Richland since my daughter was in kinder. She graduated last year. So I think that's 8 years now, or yeah, 8 years. And I love the school, and I'm looking forward to working with a bunch of new people. And that's it. We'll hear more from me when we get to the treasurer report.
Great. So those are all of our available booster positions, officer positions. I do want to say that regardless of whether or not you're running opposed or unopposed, we want to thank you all for volunteering. It is it is a rewarding position. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of good work, and we hope to be able to see and enjoy where you steer the booster committee or the booster club for the next year and working with the administration. So thank you all for doing that, especially in this weird year. So now we are going to open the voting for all the positions. Pamela, do you want to open the ballot? There we go. So you'll see the official ballot on your screen. So you can go ahead and place your votes on that ballot and then click submit. Once again, if you have multiple family members that are going to be casting a vote, both husband and wife or different spouses or partners, then you'll need to use different screens, because once this vote is submitted, you will not be able to resubmit it.
And one last thing, it is anonymous, and it'll be open. We'll let you know a couple minutes before we close it, but it's going to be open for most of the meeting. And if somebody comes into the meeting now, they should have, they might not see it on their screen, but they should have a little green button somewhere on the screen that says polling is in process. All they need to do is click on that little green thing, and it should pop up. So I'm gonna go on, carry on with the meeting, and this is we're gonna go on, hold on, let me, so we've done the elections, now we're gonna go on to the treasurer's report. This is the same thing that we provided last month about how the booster budget works, and I hope you all can take a minute to read through it, after the meeting. The next slide, or the next page, is the Richland Forecast. And most of you will recognize this, because this has been in the booster packet every month since 2016, the end of 2016, the beginning of 2017. And since we do have new people, I'm going to go through it rather quickly, but I'm always available for questions, so please reach out to me. So we're going to start at the top. The current cash that we have on hand is $188,000. We have an item that we have for reserves. That's been in there. We have a reserve set for a while. We also last Christmas we voted to put, I believe, $2,500 towards long-term allocation. So that is in there as well. And then the liabilities, which is the DELF that we have to pay for this year. So as you go down the forecast, you'll see what's in the budget. Just for example, $35,000 in the budget, it's already been paid, so that number has been removed from what we have to pay, and the column is going to go down. Teachers' aides, we've already paid that to LAUSD. Non-teachers' aides, the art teachers, something we're going to discuss later. Jacob's in here. Everything in here was already approved by the booster board, not the booster board, the booster body. All of the parents voted on this back in January and February, and then last month we made some allocations to it because of the distance learning. And I know that although, you know, we did send this out a couple days before the meeting, I know some of you were a little taken aback that we were voting on it, but I'll tell you why we needed to do that when we get to the bottom. So the gate teachers, we haven't paid anything for that. We don't know if we will, just because we're not sure, you know, what's going to happen this year. Sanitizer for the school, that's an item we put in there. Again, we don't know when we're returning to campus. So all of these items, I can go through them all, or you can take a look yourself. But as you go down the road, you'll see that the items that have been paid have been removed from this column. So the totals for 2020, 2021, we still are expecting to pay $52,000 this year. And we have estimated for next year that we're going to have to pay our budget next year. It's just an estimation, and that will be decided in January, but it's just an estimate based on what we proposed last year. It's kind of just taking the same numbers and moving it forward. And that's $251,000 that we expect the budget to be next year. It could be a little more, it could be a little less, and that's something that's decided in January and February. But when you add all this together, you'll see this yellow line, the total budget items for this year, which is 52, and the estimated funding for next year, which is 250. That comes to $304,000. Our current cash, as mentioned above, is 164. That's the 188 less the reserves is 164. So the current cash that we have for this year is 164. Our open expenses, including next year, is 304, and that gives us a deficit of $140,000. And so now I'm going to mention last month I really needed to push the budget through so I could come up with this number, so I could give you this number, so I could give the giving campaign this number. So right now the giving campaign and any other fundraisers that we happen to have this year, we need to raise $140,000 just to fund the rest of this year and all of next year. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about art in a little while. So if we decide to put any money towards art, that will be in addition to the 140. Just keep that in mind. So that's how that works. The following pages, you'll see the actual financial report and the numbers all tied to that. Here's the $188,000 I mentioned before. And as I mentioned, there were some liabilities, the DELF testing, and that's included in that. And then we move on to the income received. And we are not a calendar year, we're a fiscal year. Our fiscal year is, it ends June 30th. So this is just July and August. These numbers do not include any money that any income received or any expenses spent in September. We balance the bank statements at the end of each month, and you'll see the income and expenses at the beginning of the next month for the previous month. So at August 31st, we already raised $8,795 for the giving campaign. That number is already included in the forecast, so we need to raise an additional $140,000 through the giving campaign or additional fundraisers to meet our goal. There's expenses, and I encourage you to go through this and check my work. And if you have any questions, please come back, reach out to me. If there are any questions, I think I can take you guys off chat if anybody has any questions. No one ever does, but I think chat is open if you have any questions. Okay, so so we have not started the giving campaign this year, correct? That's right. I believe the giving campaign is going to start October 1st. The money that's already in there that was reported for the giving campaign is people that have signed up from previous years, and they give a monthly donation. So that's just always not carrying forward, but going forward. So that's the money that we've raised for giving campaign since July 1st.
Actually, Pamela, it's Jen.
Hi, Jen.
And as co-chair of the Giving Campaign with Marta, you'll see some information come out in the next 10 days. We're going to launch officially Monday, October 5th. We were going to start the 1st, and then I realized that's a Thursday. It's kind of random. So we're going to start on Monday the 5th. You'll absolutely see, you know, as we usually do, you'll hear from us, you'll see us, you'll get lots of info. And we pushed it back this year. We wanted to be able to see how the year started and figure out, you know, what our needs were going to be, how it differed this year than other years. And knowing what we know, we still are going to need lots of, you know, probably the same amount of money as Pamela showed you, as we have used in years past. So look for further information from us as we head into the next couple weeks.
There's another question. Thank you, Jen, so much. I appreciate you clarifying that. So there's another question. Are we typically this much in the hole before the Giving Campaign? Yes. The Giving Campaign is our primary fundraiser. And as if you refer back to the forecast, we are funded for this year, but next year, you know, if you do the math, next year our budget is, you know, guesstimating at 250 and we only need 140. So we've already funded part of it. So we need to come up with an additional $140,000. Does next year include
I think I'd like
middle
to add
school?
here that, I think I'd like to add here that we all need to also be mindful about the fact that we don't know when we're going to be physically on campus again. So the other giving initiatives that typically occurred later on in the year may or may not be happening. And that would be, you know, the jogathon, the auction, et cetera, et cetera. So we all need to just be mindful that the Giving Campaign might be the only method of raising funds for the school in this coming fiscal year. So just be mindful of that. I mean, we all hope that we're back in school as soon as possible, but we might not be. So, and last year, the walkathon, the jogathon raised over, you know, around $30,000. So these are substantial dollar amounts that we might not be having access to this year. So I just want everybody to keep that in their head as well, that that's an important distinction this year as opposed to the years past.
So Natalie asked a question and Mr. G answered that. Does next year include middle school expenses? And his reply in the chat was no. Giselle has asked, how much did we raise last year through the Giving Campaign? Jen, I don't have that number, do you?
Sure. We ended up raising $195,000.
Thank you. Frank is asking how we are funding middle school expenses. I think that's a question for Mr. G. Does the school have TAs right now? Yes. Mr. G, do you have any information on how we are funding middle school expenses?
I do not. So the number of students enrolled in the program will generate the teaching positions just like they do now. I don't know as far as will the district provide like a PE teacher and such. That part has not been discussed yet, but the typical things that we need to set up a new year, like room setup, bookcases, things like that, will not be district funded, nor will any of the clubs or things that we decide to run. So that's a whole other pot of expenses.
And Mr. G, I think I remember you saying at, what's going on the screen? I remember you saying at Coffee with the Principal that next year is not necessarily considered middle school because Richland has always gone to 6th grade. Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
no?
So we're gonna try to see if we can do the 7th and 8th kind of multiple teachers for different subjects. If possible, if we have enough qualified candidates. If not, then we can always just keep 6th grade. It could be just like it was last year's part of the elementary school campus where we have the 2 teachers and they're like breaking down subjects based on that. So more to come on that. It's where there's a lot to be decided still.
Marisol posted that we'll need additional funds for going back to school. Yes, we completely agree with that, 100%. It doesn't look like there's any more questions or comments. So thank you guys. I appreciate your questions. And Damien, are you here? Okay, so,
He-
oh, Mary Beth, you're here. Yay.
I am here, but he will be back shortly if you need to ask him a question, and he can answer later.
No, it's okay. We just wanted him to talk about slow your roll, but any of us can talk about it. Mary Beth, you want to say anything about it?
I have no clue about it, so you're more than welcome to.
So I'm not sure if you guys have been around the school lately, but a lot of the streets in our neighborhood have been designated as a slow street, and there's signs up in all the different down all the different streets, and this is gives access to people so that they can rollerblade, skateboard, walk, exercise. And last weekend, unfortunately, we didn't get to this part in the meeting, so I apologize for that. But last weekend was our inaugural whatever day, and but every day moving forward, there will be an end, but we just don't know what that end will be. But until then, we have slow streets around the school. Let's see where we are. Mr. G, I don't know if Fran is here, but did you guys come up with a date for Fran's workshops?
Fran is here. She's muted though, so maybe.
Fran, can you unmute yourself?
I'm here. I'm here. It's Tammy's birthday party. I couldn't leave early. So, yes, we picked October 29th at 3 o'clock. Mr. G and I are going to be working on how I'm going to present that on Zoom and all. And the focus is really going to be on resiliency and reducing the risk of some of the roadblocks that can rear their ugly head to interfere with our children having resiliency, that ability to bounce back from some of the things that are happening this year to them. So that's the plan so far.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to our discussion about French support and art enrichment. This is going to be an open discussion. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Because I'm sure a lot of people have opinions about it. I do have another poll set up, which we can or choose not to use, but it's basically, do we want to move forward with a committee to do additional research on French support and art enrichment, or do we want to, call it quits for this year on those two items and pick it up next year? So, Curdy, can you see the chat box? Do you want to lead it, or do you want me to?
No, I can see the chat box. I can moderate that. Natalie's asking, can we take the poll after the discussion?
Absolutely. I'm not putting the poll up yet, only because we're still having the officer election is in process. I can't have two polls up at once. So I'll give you guys, we can have the discussion, and then I'll give you guys, say whatever, 2 minutes before the poll closes, and then we'll close that and open the other one. We don't even necessarily need to have the poll but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So we don't have anybody have any comments about French language?
What's the question?
Yeah.
The question is, right now, there was a discussion about art and art enrichment, but also there was a discussion about, do we want to come up with some additional way to fund some French learning outside of the school hours? Okay, so I have Doc Manzana. Personally, if those are through Zoom, I pass. Natalie, I will comment. Natalie, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi guys, just kind of short and sweet. I think that we're in sort of an unusual time where we can't predict the future, and we have middle school to think about coming up very soon next year. So I don't think that we should be spending any extra money on anything else that takes place over Zoom. I mean, that's really the bottom line, is that we can all reach out to the other parents in our classes who speak French if we need French support. Trust me, I'm one of those. We do not speak French in my house, and we could desperately use French support. However, I don't think that Booster should be paying for that right now, because we have those resources within our community where we can ask French-speaking parents if we need help, or some of the kids' peers are, speak French in class. We can solve that problem like that. As far as art, it's the same thing. It's like we can supplement that ourselves at home. And I am a huge believer in art, in all of the arts. I want to support art always. But right now, while we are in this situation, I know that most kids probably don't want any more Zoom time. And that's where it would take place. So I really think that we need to conserve those funds. So, I mean, who knows how much we're going to raise the Giving campaign this year. I hope it's a lot. But looking forward to next year and what it's going to take to possibly reopen this year, and what it's going to take to fund the middle school experience. Yes, we have always had 6th grade, but we're doing something new next year. This is now French immersion 6th grade. This is not the 6th grade Richland had before. So we need to look forward to providing those new middle schoolers with a true middle school experience. And that's going to cost. That's not free. The district is not providing us with money for, clubs and the other things that an established middle school would already be providing. So I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry, but my perspective is that we should not be funding anything else that takes place over Zoom right now.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Natalie.
much. I do want to say, Kruti, I notice a lot of comments, and it's saying that these should be 2 different items. And if you look at the agenda, they are 2 different items. So yes, you will be voting on 2 different items. It's not one.
Yeah.
Or so.
As far as the French, speaking of extra French support, we do have 2 upcoming TAs that are waiting to be processed. One, the district is just not reaching out. They're not processing anybody at this moment. So we have Madame Fabienne, who will be starting once the district reaches out to her and she can process. And then we also have Valentin, who has agreed to be a TA for us. He's also a native French speaker who just immigrated to the US. So he's actually, we couldn't hire him off the bat because he's waiting for his work papers before he can start. And that'll probably come around the end of November. So we have 2 additional French speaking supports that are already budgeted for, that we're just waiting on the district to say like, okay, we're going to start processing people. You can start now. So there's additional support coming. As far as French speaking.
And those TAs are already subsidized by Booster, and that's already been budgeted.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So Luke's question, next question. I'm just going to go down this list. Luke's question is, do we have a budget for what these items will cost Booster this year? And Luke, I think the answer to your question is, depends on the program. What we're doing, we have been asked by various parents to potentially look into additional French and additional art, again, completely separately. And so what we're doing is we're just providing a forum for interested parents to propose scenarios that might work. And then we would all vote for them in Booster. So ideally, all of the ideally additional French support would cost nothing. Additional art support would cost nothing. We could, Natalie, I love your idea of getting interested parents to volunteer. If you're willing to step up and volunteer to be the person to, shepherd all of those parents and contact everybody, that would be super. But our budget starting out is always going to be 0. So. So having said that, if there's been proposals that have been put forward, or people have been saying that they want to, they're interested in proposing something, we're welcome to, we're interested in hearing it, but we don't have a budget for it right now.
Can I just add, Kruti, just for a second, because I did put together the art proposal. Well, not the proposal itself, but I combined them with Sarah. We because the discussion last month went into this, like, what is it, how much it costs. So out of necessity for this group to take a decision with information and concrete numbers, we asked for proposals and went out to a few organizations to see how much they would charge. And so in your package, I really encourage you to go and look at the numbers. We were given 2 proposals by two organizations that actually came up with the same number. And so in the package, you'll see that you'll have, yeah, that's what it is. So we kind of shared just where this was coming from and the fact that Booster has always been supplementing art at the school, and the fact that some parents wanted to look into it and at least have information to take a decision. So I mean, if you go down that proposal, you'll see the numbers for what it would cost and maybe what could be possible. I think I completely hear the Zoom. I mean, we're in a family where we don't watch TV. Our kids are not allowed screen time. And that flipped because we're both working full time, and sometimes they are on their screen. So I do agree with like no screen and no Zoom, but at the same time, I work 50 hours a week on average. And so I think we need to consider the parents and my husband as well. So if they're going to be on screens anyway, maybe we want them to have an activity that is meaningful and guided. So that was really the goal of us coming up with those proposals, is giving facts for what it would cost and what could be accomplished. And I also wanted to stress the guiding principles that we followed when we looked for proposals, which are listed below. I don't know if you want to go a little bit down, Pamela, but it was really about making this as inclusive and as easy for, it's a little bit up, but I can just go over what they are. But basically, we wanted something that would be open to all students at Richland, not just a small group. We wanted a proposal that would not take time from the teacher's time. So obviously outside of the learning time that is scheduled with the teachers. And that would only require minimum materials, making it possible for everyone to participate, where you wouldn't have to buy any like crazy materials. And that it would require, because of situations very selfishly of families like ours, that it would require minimum parent involvement. So that's how we've been seeking proposals. I truly do not have a true opinion. I still don't know how I'm going to vote in 5 minutes. But what I felt strongly, and that's why I ended up helping putting this together, is that we needed facts. This conversation went a little crazy, and I think we all deserve facts and numbers for us all to take a decision. So I really encourage you to look at those 2 pages because everything I know is there. So thank you.
Thank you, Perrine, for putting that together. I know that it represented a significant effort, and I think it is important to just note that, you know, not every parent has the ability to construct, you know, art projects, et cetera, for their children in a working day. Every family situation is different, and Booster in the past has historically subsidized art programs for the school. So if our charge is to take a look at how that might be possible in this particular environment, that is what we're attempting to do. So again, yeah, I'll echo what Perrine said. Please take a look at the information that's been provided. Now moving on, Stephanie Walker states that my opinion is that tightening belt time and we need to save money for the future. Noted. Noonan is suggesting that the French and art are separate. Agreed. And then Kate wanted to comment. Kate, are you here?
Yeah, hi. I know we're running out of time, so I'll be brief. I really appreciate what's been said so far, especially the facts that were shared. I guess my lens is always going to be, you know, how is this going to benefit all of the students, and is it going to benefit them equally? And I think, I don't know what the numbers were last year in terms of who showed up to the Zoom art classes, but, you know, they're not going to be required. And at least the ones that my daughter attended, not many students showed up. And there's just so many other free options that are available. Like I see people commenting about the free art classes through STAR, and LAUSD is offering enrichment. And so I love the arts, and that was, you know, Sophie, my kindergartner's favorite time last year, but this is a different time that we're in, unfortunately. And I think that therefore I agree with this idea of tightening the belts. And as far as French support goes, I know the English classes are a small segment of our population, but that support wouldn't benefit all students equally at Richland. And I think we have a bit of a hierarchy of needs situation this year where every spending decision we make has to be sort of evaluated. And at the top of that list is always going to be safety. And we don't know what we're going to need to reopen safely when that happens. And so it seems to me that there's a lot of ways to fill this French and art support that don't involve, spending thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars.
Thanks, Kate. Next is Marissa. Marissa says she would like French support and she can comment. Marissa, are you here?
Hi, yeah, I also have a question, Ruthie. Is the art class in French? Or would it be? Because that would influence which way I vote.
That would depend on any of the proposals we get. We don't have anything right now.
The ones we found were not in French, but I think the vote is really about having a committee looking into that more. And so maybe that's the goal that we give that committee. It's kind of the, what we ask them to do.
Right. I think, I think you bring up a really good point, Perrine. I think that everybody needs to understand that we are not today voting on putting money towards art and or French at the school. What we are doing right now is going to be voting on whether or not we think that a committee should be formed to explore the possibility of a French or art supplementary program at the school this year. That's it. We are not going to be dispersing funds based on today's vote. That is not going to happen. We are going to just be, taking the pulse of the parent community on whether or not there is an appetite for investigating whether this is important for the school this year or not. That is it.
Understood. So I would just like to express our interest in anything that is available in extra academic support in French, whether it's art or tutoring. Any additional French support would be of interest to our family.
Thanks, Marissa. Then Jennifer agrees with Natalie. Jody Hill mentions that a loss of an art teacher is very disheartening. I don't know if you guys want me to read what everyone can read on the text, on the chat. But
I think we can all read it as long as the questions are answered.
Yeah.
So the question really for me is, what happened to Madame Sandrine? Why don't we have that support?
Mr. G, would you like to answer that question?
Yes. I'd be happy to address that. So I don't know if you guys fully know the whole backstory with Madame Sandrine. So when we first launched our program in 2015, Madame Sandrine walked into Richland and said, hey, I'm interested in your French program. I'm a native speaker. I would like to teach art. I'm an artist, all this. She brought her portfolio of things. We looked at it and said, okay, there's quite a potential there. Her dream was to become a teacher down the road, to be an art teacher down the road. So originally at the time, we said, well, you're not credentialed. The best I can do for you is I can offer you a TA position. Like, how do you feel about that? You would be working with the kids in the kindergarten classroom, which was our first and only cohort that when we started was kinder. And then perhaps you can do like art lessons, with the kids. It might be really neat to get them to do some art and to practice the French. So that's what kind of was agreed upon. But when we got to like the dollars, Sandrine didn't want to work for the TA salary. She wanted at the minimum $30 an hour. So at the time, because we were first launching our program and it was hard to find French speaking TAs, I went to Booster and said, hey, Booster, is there a way to supplement her so that we can hire this lady? Booster then, agreed to fund her additional money to get her to $30 an hour. So for the past 5 years or so, she's been getting basically the dollar amount of 2 TAs. She's getting her TA salary paid through LAUSD, and Booster has been supplementing her like approximately like an extra $17,000 or so a year. Okay. So the years go on, and Sandrine is more interested in doing art and less interested in TAing. So we start the art studio. We start getting more classes into the art studio, and she's quite in order to stay in the position. The role of a TA is that you're working towards becoming a teacher. So every year you take X amount of classes, working towards becoming a teacher. Every year she wants a raise. And then after, by our 5th year, we're like, okay, well, we can't keep sustaining this. Like, you're going to want like full credential teacher salary, and you're really not. I mean, you don't have a teaching credential, although she was teaching art. It's just not the same. We could get 2 French-speaking TAs for the price of Madame Sandrine. Then when the pandemic struck and we closed schools, it was kind of foolish to have a art studio sitting there and an empty art studio and funding Madame Sandrine for a position that she wouldn't be able to do. So I had a conversation with her, and I said, look, Madame Sandrine, we're closing down the art studio. We need it as a room for the 5th grade French. And right now I can't justify paying you your TA salary plus an additional $17,000 to teach art, which is not going to happen. She didn't like that. She didn't like the dollar amount. She didn't like going back to having her salary cut in half. So she kind of, I'll be a TA for a little bit. And then I asked her, like, okay, we're trying to work out the schedule, double. And I said, no, you're not going to get paid. That's not how it works. I could assign you to 3 or 4 classes to help with 3 or 4 different things out. So there was an issue there. She was not happy with the salary, and then Sandrine decided to resign. So that's where we are. So we lost Sandrine as the art teacher, but I'm confident that we can find another art teacher, and that if we keep this money to when school actually physically opens up, hopefully in January, that we can use the $9,000 to fund an art teacher that will be like in person, like in our campus, and the kids will have art instruction in person as opposed to doing it on Zoom. And this will also guarantee that all the classes get to visit the art studio as opposed to some of the classes. So there's an equity issue involved as well. So bottom line, I think we should bank that money till we actually open up, and then we can actually have an art studio on the class 2nd semester. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. G. Okay, Soha, next up, Soha would like to comment. Soha, are you here?
Thank you, Kruti. I just wanted to add something. As Kruti mentioned earlier, the annual giving campaign might be our only real substantial fundraising this year. And I also want to add that, we should be mindful that possibly a lot of people in our community of Richland have lost income and have lost jobs. I know there's a lot of people in productions, and productions have been shut. So we should keep that in mind with fundraising. And I'm all for the arts. I mean, Zoe really loved going to the art studio. That was one of her favorite things. But in this year, it's unusual. I mean, people had weddings and they got canceled. People, had so many things, and I mean, it's upside down. So I just feel, I was looking at the numbers, and I think for 12 weeks, it was somewhere between 9K or 16K, depending on the format of art class that we might choose. So I just feel like if, like we should be more mindful how we're spending that money. If, if it's not going to benefit all the students, especially that, most likely, raising money is not going to be, the same amount due to, the current situation and people having lost income resources.
Thanks, Soha.
Kruti, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes,
and say,
please.
We're going to close the poll shortly. I'm just really nervous that something's going to happen. My internet's going to go down or something, and we're going to have to start this all over. So we're going to close the poll in about 2 minutes. And then we can open the poll for the art and the French and art, and you guys can take your time reviewing it and make your decision, and we can continue through the comments. The only other items that we have are announcing the officers, and then that's it. So we can continue with this conversation, but I want to take care of the officer election.
If you haven't voted yet, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Kruti.
Yes. Okay, continuing on, Ken asks to comment. Ken, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody. I'm Ken. I initiate like 2 years ago, volunteering on that French support, gathering all the French speakers to do support on classroom. but you know, I have a goal on in my business, so I stepped down. But I believe there's enough resource in us as the community to make that in place and make, you know, what I did was like talk to the teachers and put like a schedule when to support and how they wanted the support. And it was working like 2 years ago. And then last year, just a little bit. And of course, when all this thing happened, everything shut down. But basically, I wanted just to say that it will be needed somebody that take that lead. I was the one doing it, but unfortunately I can do it, not do it anymore. But I believe that will help or protect or help not to spend more money, but we all can agree. I'm the first one to volunteer to give some extra help on French, you know, like that we can help each other, especially in these times that we need all to, you know, grab hands and support each other. So that was my point. So who would like to take the lead for the French volunteering parents and help out all the community?
Yes, we would love for a parent to step up and help assemble a coterie of volunteers. If you are interested, if you have any time at all, we would love it. Please shoot us an email. Okay, moving on. Kelly Weiss asks a question. Kelly, are you here?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, would you like to ask your question? It's not directly related to art and or French, but it seems like it's a salient question right now. So if you want to be quick about it.
Yes, just a general question. Just because we're expanding to middle school, I'm wondering if there are any plans or funds allocated to add sports fields or, you know, an organized sports program like other middle schools have.
Mr. G? Would you like to comment on that?
Those are all additional costs that the school will have to somehow supplement, either through our funds, through booster funds. Again, the district will give us the teachers. It's possible that, you know, we'll get what most middle schools get. You may get certain things kind of come with that, but anything above that is going to have to be school funded or fundraised through booster or grants or going after big donations from big businesses.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
So, Trudy, should I go ahead and end the poll? And
I think so. I think it's
okay. And do we want to post it yet? I have to do it all at this. I mean, I can end the poll and now share the results, or do we want to hold on to them for a minute?
Let me just, you know, Pamela, let me just scroll through the rest of these comments because a lot of them are yay or nay.
Okay.
And if we can just go through the rest of the questions, and then we can just close this out as well.
Okay, perfect.
So a couple of the questions are regarding the facilities for the middle school, which I request that we sort of table that discussion and we keep the rest of was at the previous one. So sorry, Jody, I don't mean to, and I think Gilles had also asked a question about that. Don't mean to blow you guys off, but I just want to kind of keep this going because we're at an hour. And I think
I'm sorry to interrupt. I need to post this. I just got a thing that said my internet is unstable. So let me share the results.
Yeah, I think we're done. I think
let me share the results.
They're all just comments now. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you see the results? So Kate and Soha, obviously. Jim, Vice President. Frank, you did okay, Frank. You didn't lose. And Pamela. Can you all see the results? Yes? Can everyone see the results?
We can see 1, 2, and 3. We can't see past secretary.
Can you scroll down on your screen? You have to scroll down on your own.
Let me just announce the winners then. Yeah. So obviously the winners for co-president are Kate and Soha. The winner for vice president this year is Jim. Jim won with 56% of the votes. Danielle had 44% of the votes. For secretary, Frank won with 91% of the votes. And for treasurer, Pamela won with 96% of the votes. So congratulations to the incoming Booster Officer Committee.
Yay. Thank you so much for everyone who volunteered. And if we're, I don't know if we're going to take screenshots. If you need Yumi, can you write this down? If anybody else wants to make a note of this. Otherwise, I can open the poll for the French and art, and then we can continue the discussion, or we can vote. Again, just to reiterate what Crudy said, we're not voting to spend any money today. I mean, it's off the table. We are just, and with the new board coming in anyway, it's off the table. It's just to find out if we want to set up committees to research additional French help and additional art enrichment. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and start the other poll. And it's 2 questions. The first is regarding French. The second is regarding art. And it's basically, you know, I don't want to fund for Booster, or I do want Booster to set up a committee. While you guys are doing that, I'll just mention a couple more things. The STAR program, please check your emails about the STAR program. And I'll tell you, so that the reason we put the STAR program on all of our agendas, even if we really have not much to say about it, is because the STAR program is a grant, receives a grant from the state, I believe, and we need to have it on all of our agendas to continue that grant. Other business, we have ongoing fundraisers all the time. Please sign up for Amazon. Please sign up for Ralph's. And then lastly, the 2020-2021 booster volunteer opportunities. And Crudy alluded to that a little bit earlier about if we do set up committees to research this, we're going to need people on the committees to do that, as well as all of the other items that are looking for, people to help, to house them, to help them. Academic support, corporate sponsorship, ongoing fundraisers, eco team, and then we do have some chair people for some of the committees, but they need volunteers on those committees as well. The beautification committee, spirit gear, and please send all your parents and grandparents to the grandparents and friends leaders committee. We like to see the grandparents. Let's see, I'll go through the chat and see if there's anything else. Crudy, you want to add anything?
No. Just, I suppose that there is one thing that I'd like to add. Ask that if you do have any time whatsoever, I know everybody's got a lot going on, but school will reopen in person at some point, and all of these programs that are in various states of of suspension will go forward, and as well as all of these events. And so if there's something that you are interested in, maybe you can't do it right now, just reach out to Booster Leadership. Just let them know that you're interested in being a part of any of these initiatives, any of these events, any of these committees, because there's always a need for more parents, and there's always a desire to have as many people involved as possible. So, please don't let the current situation scare you off. Richland is a phenomenal school, and many thanks to the teachers and the administration that make it so. And I don't know, as outgoing president, thank you all.
Okay, I noticed Damien is here now. And Damien, would you like to say anything about Slow Streets and Halloween, pretty please?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I think it was covered that it's my son's birthday, and we had a family thing that is done now. But anyway, yes, if people have been in the community, they've noticed there's sort of a loop around Richland School now, with the exception of the southern end on Brookhaven, of signs up that are called Slow Streets. And this is something that I technically worked on through the church, although we coordinated closely with the Booster leadership and other people in the community in trying to set up this route. But the whole idea is that this is supposed to be safe spaces for people to do exercise and move around under social distancing. We're not really supposed to advertise this like it's a cyclovia or something like that outside the neighborhood, but as Richland members, you are all parts of the community. So if you're looking for space to do that, even if it's just practice biking for your kid and the church lot or the school lot just isn't big enough yet, there's a way that connects right to them. So that's all there. And we've been working on planning for a Halloween event that's going to take advantage of that. And we had a committee that did our Slow Streets opening, which was whoever showed up. It included Pamela and Danielle and a couple other faces and names you would know. And we're going to do that either next Thursday or the following Thursday at this time. I'll post in the Facebook group when that is, but anyone is welcome to attend. And anyone that wants to come, I'll email around the idea that we're working off of, that I came up with first. And anyone that was on the Slow Streets opening will tell you that then we will throw out my idea and come up with a completely different one that is much better. So, and also look for some announcements for using the Slow Streets areas for what we're referring to as Bike Around School Day. We haven't completely fleshed it out yet, but it'll probably be sometime in October. And it'll feature some of we can't do rides around campus, and I don't know if Mr. G is going to offer up a homework pass, but we will have some sort of event for that. And I've been working with the group that did the bike rodeo on campus last year to come up with some. They're helping me get videos that are age appropriate that we can pass around to the classes for bike safety tips. So those two things will still. We're working on, and yeah, look for an announcement in the group about what we can do for Halloween, because we're looking forward to trying to use the community that we've built to create a safe and fun, socially distanced Halloween that involves not trick-or-treating, but involves costumes and running around the neighborhood for kids and adults. So look for some announcements on how to help with that or help plan that. Sorry, I babbled a little. I usually have a sheet to help guide my thoughts. And congratulations to everyone that won, and thank you to the boosters officers that are leaving.
Okay, so we have, let's see, 100 votes on the French and art, and we have 94 participants. So I'm going to assume that everyone's voted, and I'm going to end the polling for that as well. And now I will share the results. This is all new to me, so and you can move your own screen up and down so you can get the results on your screen. So it looks like we will not be, Booster will not fund additional French support and at this time, and Booster will not fund additional art enrichment at this point. So thank you to everyone who voted. And if Yumi or someone else, if you guys can take down the numbers, that would be fantastic. The percentages and everything. And then that's all for me. Does anybody else have anything extraordinary that they want to add?
just thank you to what an
No school on Monday.
job you've all
School
done.
closed.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you, Helena. Yes,
Yeah,
no
and
school on
Melissa,
Monday.
Can we just give a round of applause to Melissa for really being on this board for a very long time and just been incredible. We'll miss you. And then thank you, Danielle, for everything you've done, and welcome new board members. Woo! And bye, Crudy and Pamela. We love you too.
Oh.
Obviously.
Thanks, everyone. Does anybody have,
yeah.
Does anybody have anything else to add? Any additional comments, or are we done?
I think we're done. I'm happy we got through all of that in 10 extra minutes. We started a couple minutes late, so I'm going to call this a success anyway. And apologies for the tech issues last week, but so glad that we got it all figured out. Thanks so much to everyone.
Thank you all for attending. Make sure to come to next month's booster meeting. Let's keep this attendance up.